Yeah, I mean, this pile of stuff that I've been going through, it's really cool looking back at. I'd love to find the person that
Yeah.
actually, some of this stuff goes with, because it's just, some super old pictures, and I think their family would love it. But then
Yeah.
on top of that, I mean, there's some stuff in here, like I said, from the Department of Defense, and
That's cool.
it is cool. So
That's really
I thought
cool.
I would one of these days I'm gonna sit in like this old Opryland thing. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. Most of it, like I said, late 40s, early 50s. Um, just cool.
Oh, and I got to give a shout out to Pressure Washing Punks. I see.
Yeah.
I hope you're still out there. Good to see you, my friend. And I just recently I just joined TikTok again because I saw you immediately popped up on TikTok. So you're going to get followed by Tiki's of Tally, one of our new gigs. So that's me whenever you have a Hawaiian shaved ice company following you. So I forgot,
that's going to be an interesting video that he does.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Mr. Jacob, how are you doing? And yes, to answer your question, we did both make it to the Huge. I wound up having to leave early at the Huge, which kind of sucked, but had to get back and deal with retail land and delivery land and all that good stuff. But no, it was nice. It was a good, from everything that I saw, Huge looked awesome.
Yeah. It was a good show, as always, kind of a thing. Thad and Chris really started something good, and the new owners are taking it even up a notch, I think, and I think they're going to continue to do that. And I can't wait to. I guess they got something special planned for next year, so I think.
Did they announce where it's going to be yet or not?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I'm sure that they have. And for some reason, I was thinking it was back at the Gaylord Opryland again, but I'm not 100% positive. So,
and I know that one of the owners of that lives 2024. Yeah, Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, that's what I thought they were going back there. So anyhow, well, hey there, hi there, ho there, out in Spray Wash land. And, Ray and I get to just chit-chatting a little bit before we even get started. And I'm looking dark tonight. I should have redone some lighting and all that kind of thing. But I'm not in where I'm normally at because things got kind of moved around and all that. But anyhow.
Out tonight because I'm reflecting off bald head. I said, I'm looking washed out because the lights are
reflecting off your bald head. So you're super light. I'm super dark. It's all good. It'll work out. Mm-hmm. But pay yourself first. And, that's kind of going to be the topic of discussion tonight, and a little bit about, where that kind of comes from and why it comes from. And shout out to Michael J for, suggesting this last week. And I thought it was actually a good topic to get into, because the whole premise, to my understanding, the whole premise of paying yourself first is really about, more about future. And about, I want to say, I'm going to say retirement, but that's not exactly what it is. But making sure that you have the funds available to do the things and to set money to the side, kind of a thing. And so I thought it was a great topic, because I see a lot of guys, and especially in this day and age where we start making really good money in this industry, and then what do you do, and how do you pay yourself first? Why do you pay yourself first? And what are the things centered around that? So,
I want to talk about and PWP. I'm so sorry to hear that. Glad you're okay. I sold my my Harley Road King earlier this year, and happiest day of my life to get rid of that joker. I'm getting too, can't do it anymore, man. Can't do it.
I hope you didn't get hurt on that thing.
Yeah, so they had a near death. You brush with that. Yeah. And we're talking about, this, pay yourself first. And a lot of that comes from,
man. Oh, pulverized.
But
Mike, sorry to hear that, brother.
Mike Michalowicz wrote a book, This has been his follow-up book to it. He's written several books, but this one is called Get Different, Marketing That Can't Be Ignored. But he wrote a book called Profit First. And it's Mike Michalowicz. Profit First is another one. And I think his first like big breakout book was The Pumpkin Principle. And part of the gist, and this is the 2-minute summary on here, is profit first is you break apart. Like if our jobs are 20% profit, then we go ahead and write ourselves a check for 20% profit off the top of the job. I mean, if we know that a job is $100, then and I keep, $20 of that goes to bleach, $20 goes to labor, $20 goes to supplies, and $20 goes to operating expenses, and $20 is my profit. Then the minute that $100 check comes in, I'm going to go ahead and take $20 out, put it in my wallet. That's the gist. That's an oversimplified part of it. But here's the not oversimplified part of it. That whenever you start saying, yeah, I want to do that. I mean, and God knows that sounds amazing. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? I mean, like, I'm going to pay myself first out of this job. I'm going to pay myself first. And okay, great. But if you don't know what your business and your expenses are, how do you know what to pay yourself? And if you're overpaying yourself, then you don't.
You can't just come out and say, you can't come out and say, I'm going to pay myself, $70,000 a year. And then every time you get, every month you write yourself a check for, $6,800. It doesn't work like that. You want to pay yourself first. Yes. But you also have to know how much you can pay yourself, what your actual income is. And There are many ways to get to that, to be able to figure that out.
Well, we had that year, and when we were in Branson, and I had to leave early because of the accident that the company had. I think you and Rob did the class for me, and one of the things, and this is 5 years ago, where it was the roadmap to $100,000 back whenever $100,000 was still a pretty respectable point where you wanted to be in your pressure washing. company. In fact, it still is. I'm not even going to dismiss that. $100,000 is still a great place to be.
Money, yeah.
And one of the things that we did in that class was, and at that point, I'd never even heard of Profit First, but we took a hard look at doing the roadmap on that, and we said, okay, what is $100,000? Or you want to make $100,000? And it was, once we broke it all down and we looked at taxes, we looked at expenses, and we started doing these percentages and doing the factors on there, is that to make that $100,000, you really needed to do about $350,000 in your company right there. And that's well, Doug, go ahead.
Well, when you sit there looking at all that kind of stuff, especially, if you want to try to save money to, say, put a down payment on a house, or to, whatever it is you want to buy. Because first thing I would encourage you, if you already own a house, is, start looking at buying rental property and that. But, even at all that, you have to be able to put down, and that's where you were talking numbers, and I was going to go kind of the numbers way as well. If you want to put down, if you want to buy a house or buy some rental property or whatever it is, right? And just to keep things simple, let's say that it's $100,000 piece of property. A lot of times you have to put down about 20%. Yes, you can get away less than that sometimes. If your credit's super bad, you might have to do more. But kind of the gold standard on commercial property is generally about 20%. And so if you're going to do that, you need to save $20,000. You got to sit there and be able to figure out how to fit that in. You can't just say to yourself, well, I'm going to do that over 2 years, and that's what, $830 a month or something like that, because now you can't just pull it out if it's not there. You have to have a realistic understanding. To me, one of the ways to do that in our industry, right, it's different. unless you are paying yourself a salary every single month, or every single week, you're paying yourself X number of dollars. Doesn't matter what the company's making. You know that your salary is less than what you could be bringing home. The rest of it's taken as discretionary income, whatever. Okay, great. Unless you're doing it that way, one of the ways that you can do that is with every single job, just like Ray's saying, you can take a percentage out right off the top that okay, that job is $100. I'm going to take, 10% out. I'm going to take $10 out and I'm going to set that, in this separate account that is for that, whatever. Now, the rest of it is what I have to deal with. And I have to make my budgets surrounding that $90, right? I got to pay my bleach. I got to pay my guys. I got to this and I got to. At the end of the day, though, you have to make sure that when you take that $10 out and you start adding all those other things up, that it's not more than $90.
Right.
You have to know what those numbers are. That's why I like a percentage base. If you can take that percentage away every single time and you plan for that accordingly, if you pull it out, set it to the side, boom, now you do your other stuff. It's harder to get yourself off center from that. It's easier to stay on track.
100%. But the biggest thing, and as we were talking, earlier today, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what business you are. And I mean, and I own, Tanya and I own multiple businesses, and it doesn't matter what business you have. You've got to understand the numbers and the goings on of the business on there. I mean, it's you get paid $1,000 in a pressure washing job. Did you make $1,000? No. If one of my very good friends, I was best man at his wedding. He and his family owned a bunch of Village Inns, and this is 20 years ago. And and he said, I will never forget. He's like, the biggest problem with most restaurateurs is they have a great night and they make $1,000, and they think, yay, I've made $1,000. And you haven't made $1,000. You've made $300 on that. When I sell a pressure washer at Power Wash Store, I haven't made $4,000. I've made $200-$300 because I've now got to pay Pressure Pro or BE or Landa or Karcher, money for this pressure washer that I'm selling. So we have to understand.
So you got your lights, you got your insurance, you got your all those other kind of things, the shoes that your wife's buying. No, I'm sorry, I didn't bring that up.
No, it's true. I mean, profit from first day one, always have money. Yeah. But again, one of the biggest things is what guys don't understand. And you hear concepts like this, but I'm going to tell you what, guys, the most important part of all of this is you had better understand your numbers before anything else, because it's impossible to do what we're talking about without knowing your numbers.
Exactly. And along with that comes with, you have to set goals based on those numbers, right? So you can't just, again, like I said, you can't just start paying yourself $70,000 a year when you don't know what your income is. You don't know what your numbers, you can say that, that truck does $250,000 a year, so I can easily pay myself $70,000 a year. But if you haven't figured out what all of your expenses are and what all your costs are, you don't know how much you actually make yet. And so once you get that boiled down to a number, then you have to set the goals of what you're after. And one of the goals for me, I think you should be at is, maybe even two separate parts, right? So you've got something that you're setting completely for retirement, and then something that you're setting for the goal of, say, buying a house or whatever. So maybe having those two separate things to the sides. And again, but you have to pull those things out and you have to plan for them. Sometimes what that means, though, is that we have to cut back on stuff, or we have to do something a little bit differently, or, because you definitely don't want to cut back on maintaining your equipment because it costs you more later. So you have to have these other funds as well. So when you sit there and you're doing your budget, you need to pull out X number of percent for you, X number of percent for your maintenance and X number of percent, all these different things to get to what you're actually making, which can be difficult.
And I've PWP is right. It's what destroys most small businesses. Think because they have 50,000 make, they made $50,000, 100%. I was talking to one of my guys in Tallahassee not long ago, and he was, we've become very good friends over the course of his, we were always, friendly competitors back in our spray wash days. And I've watched him grow. He's probably number two in he's probably number two in Tallahassee now. and he's become a very good friend, confidant. And he said, we were talking, and I said, part of just the suck part of it is, all of a sudden you think, you just think you're doing awesome because you have that, you deposit that $50,000 check and you're balling all of a sudden. I mean, it's like, man, the bank account gets, 6 figures up there. And then suddenly, you have $25,000 in payroll hit, and you've got $10,000 in Lyft rental hit, and you've got, $8,000 in insurance hit and 401k matching hit. And that $100,000 that you've got in there goes down to about $45,000. And you're like, and he literally looked at me. He's like, dude, I am literally at that same place right now. I mean, this is, he's like this past week that happened to me.
I can tell you, it's funny. I mean, I've shared the story before. The very first time I hit over 100,000 in sales for the month, I didn't even realize I was there. And I don't even think it was the first time. I think it was the first time I was told,
right?
Yeah, Michael J is finally coming on to say, good evening, great topic and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's your topic, right? Mm-hmm. Anyhow, so the very first time I knew that I had done over 100,000 for the month, my office managers tell me, you'll do about 112,000 for the month. I really actually had to sit back and look at that too and go, okay. It actually explained a lot to me as well. But knowing where I was at and what I had been doing, and that just helped solidify where I was at and what I was doing. Right. But sitting down with all those budgets and figuring out, can I do this? What can I do? How can I do? Why can I do all that is an important thing for those goals and everything else. So, and I've shared this before. One of the ways that I did that too was like my shop, for example, when I bought Cajun Soft Wash, I think the building that Cajun Soft Wash was in, I think I bought that in 2018. Right. And December of 2020, I paid that thing off. Right. And, just right before I sold my company, I paid it off. And so you look at that, that's two, right at 2 years to pay that thing off. And I'll tell you, it wasn't a cheap building. Right. So it was up there anyhow. But what I did was I took, again, so first of all, my wife and I were living basically paycheck to paycheck. And the reason we were doing that is because we were, in a way, paying ourselves first, though we weren't taking that money to us. We were doing it towards, retirement and towards these kinds of things. So if those of you that know me know my story, I mean, I started $40,000 plus in credit card debt, on the verge of losing the house, all that kind of fun stuff. So I knew I never wanted to be there again. Right. And so I had a separate account set up for my credit card payments that came in. Every time that account hit $6,000, I took $5,000 of that and I took it as an owner draw and I put it down on whatever it was, either my building or my house. Right. So at first it was the house, and then secondly it was the building. So that's when you start to realize, once you're getting up there and you're really turning the money and you're doing good and all that, and you're writing that, $5,000 check into that account and you're doing it, a couple of times a month. Yep. And then you're all of a sudden, you went from this big note on your building to it's just paid off. I mean, That's an awesome thing. So that's that might be probably something a lot of guys may or may not be able to do. But when you get to a certain point and you pay cash you've paid everything off. I don't mean to pay cash for everything, but everything is paid off. Yeah. And if you have a lot of bills, one of the things that you need to do is to take your, and I don't remember where I saw this, but I believe in it. And that is take the lowest dollar amount that you have in your bills and pay it off first. Okay. Some people will argue you pay down your highest interest rates first. Okay. The way I kind of look at that, and the way that I remember reading years ago, was if you don't necessarily look at the interest rates, okay, even though they're important, but if you take the one that's the smallest dollar amount, it's going to get paid off the quickest. That money that you've now freed up isn't free. You can't take that and say, oh, you know what? I don't have to pay that $200 note every month anymore. Wow, good. I get to stick that $200 in my pocket. No, you still keep paying that $200, but now you attack the second largest bill that, or smallest bill that you have. When you get that one paid off, and that one there was $500 a month, you don't have $700 a month coming in.
Right.
You have to now take that $700 a month and you apply it to the next bill, right? By the next thing you know, those things are getting paid down like this. Same thing I did with my building. Paid it down within 2 years. I paid that sucker off. So
I want to do this with the comment that Rusty made. Back when that, and I guess I can use this name here, that Sean Hodges debacle happened with everybody, and found out he was taking money allegedly taking money and not delivering vehicles. But I remember on some video that I was watching on one of I guess it had to be on YouTube, maybe on Facebook, and some guy was commenting that, had to be on Facebook because people they were talking back and forth, but somebody had done a video and this guy started chiming in, was typing, and he's like, yeah, he made me spend like $120,000, $130,000, something like that. And somebody's like, oh my God, what size? And keep in mind, this is a new guy in business. This is a brand new guy in business. And this is part of this ridiculousness that part of what PWP, what Pressure Washing Punks is attacking out there on his TikTok channel. But all these guys talking about how much money you can make in the pressure washing industry and just do this and just do that. And I'm not going to, name the people that are part of this crap doing that. Hey, Kim Hopkins.
Kim is in the house. I know it. It's awesome.
Anyway, so they're talking about, they're like, well, what do you mean $130,000? She's like, well, I bought a rig from him and keep in mind, this is a guy without a pressure washing company. I bought a rig from him for $30,000. And then, we got our website started up because of these guys, saying that I needed that. And that was X amount of money. And then I bought some dye sub and I spent like $10,000 on marketing, that's ready to go. And then, what else I needed? I needed a big truck. I needed a big, bad truck, to pull this $30,000 rig that I'm starting my company out with. So I went out and bought an $8,000 Chevy 2500 out there. And of course, he's blaming Sean for this. Now, again, allegedly what this guy did, if he did that, very, very bad person. And he put a lot of people in a bad scenario. But
you did it to yourself too.
I promise you, nobody made you go out and buy an $80,000 truck. And when we sold Spray Wash, the final year we were in business, we did $1.3 million in business. I had 5 rigs out there. All of our rigs did not cost $80,000. At least all the trucks pulling our rigs of those 5 did not cost $85,000. I finally broke down and bought myself a 2017 F-250. Looks nice. It's an XLT. We had a lot of F-250 base models and old utility trucks that we wrapped up and made them look great. I don't have a big screen in my personal truck. I've got a little 3.5, and I've made more money in pressure washing probably than most people ever will. But it is the delayed gratification. It is the making stuff work what you made. And nobody made that man go out and buy an $80,000 vehicle.
To me, sometimes when you look at stuff like that, that's more ego driven than anything else, or a false sense of I have to have this because if I look successful, I can get a higher price tag, which there is definitely a point to that. And there is definitely a certain class of people that I can sell to better, having a nice wrap truck and, nice uniform on and all this kind of thing. And it's something that I think that you want. And it's amazing to me, actually, what you can take an old beater, ugly, nasty looking truck and you throw a wrap on it. And it looks like $1 million. Yeah.
Changes the world right there, baby.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. That $80,000 that he spent on that truck, he probably could have spent, say, $10,000, $12,000 on the truck, another $3,000 on a wrap, and given the same overall appearance.
I've actually had trucks. I've had trucks for the company where the wrap cost more than the truck.
Oh, absolutely.
And Anthony, that was whenever I bought my truck. I literally bought that you've seen my truck. I bought that F-250 in mind going, one day this will become a crew truck, and there's no need to have a King, as much as I'd like a King Ranch or a Platinum. I didn't feel that I knew that it would, because practically speaking, if I was to go and buy myself a truck, I'm going to make myself, I deserve this. I deserve a nice King Ranch. I deserve this. Okay, maybe I did, but I'm still going to be putting miles on that truck. It's going to be my estimate vehicle. It needs to be wrapped. If it was something, I did 60, 80 hours a week consistently with spray wash. If I was going to have my truck that I didn't drive for business, it would have had 2,000 miles on it at the end of a year, because I was always in my truck for business, and it's always business, guys.
And don't get me wrong, we're definitely not saying you shouldn't treat yourself to that, F-350 King Ranch dually with the, aluminum high-rise wheels and jacked, whatever you want to have with the gold steering wheel. If that's what you want for yourself and you can afford it and you've gotten past all these other things and your bills are paid off and all that that's great. Treat yourself to it. But if you haven't planned for the future and you don't have a plan in place to pay yourself first, and you're just going off and spending money on your toys and all that kind of stuff, hey, that's great for right now. But at some point in time, if something happens and that catches up to you, now what do you do? Now you got to sell your toys. And if you spent $100,000 on that truck, you're not going to get $100,000 out of it. So now you're all that money is wasted. So our point to you is simply that try to get, pay yourself first, get your investments up, get your retirement up, and then start doing those side things.
Tommy's sitting there saying, when the leader, who told me you can make 250 off of one truck, I knew it was too good. It was BS coming out of the first year. It doesn't happen in the first year. Occasionally it does. Sure. But you're right. It's more slow growth. We had somebody, and Anthony, you might have been in the store, or it was either you or Steven was in there. But we were talking to a guy that was, anyway, and he's relatively new. I think he was second year in, and he was, I don't want to say bragging. We were just talking, and he was very, very proud, but it was like 5 months, 6 months into the year. And he was saying he was at around $150,000 or so for the year. But then he also mentioned that, part of that $150,000 was like an $80,000 commercial project that he got. And so we're sitting here, and it didn't even hit me, but either Anthony or Steven told me at the end, he's like, if you think about that, you're 6 months into it. If you less off $80,000 off of that 150 at 70,000 for this guy that runs, a large crew and doesn't necessarily wash himself, he's kind of really not doing that great if he would have missed that $80,000 bid on it. Now, we don't know what kind of business he displaced and stuff doing that $80,000 bid, but it's kind of true. If you think about it, if all of your eggs or half of your eggs are in that one basket, if you had dropped that basket, you got kind of a problem on there, and your numbers are a lot different than what you're thinking.
So I do want to address this with PWP. That's the one. So I use the Ford trucks with no to minimal signage, and that's all that's needed. Why am I going to beat up an expensive vehicle? Personal vehicle is a different story. So I kind of disagree with that, though, PWP. The reason is simply that if I take a vehicle and I put a wrap on it, that wrap is going to make me more in the long run, and even in the short run, than the cost of the wrap. And it's going to make the truck look so much better, more professional, all these kinds of things. So to me, the signage on the truck, as long as it's done correctly and, putting the wrap on the truck is an extremely important thing for the longevity of your business, if that's what you're after, because sometimes that's not what you're after. And then that's cool too. So,
here's, hold on, let me present, share screen.
While you're doing that, I'll be right back.
Okay. Here was, and this is going to be a little bit weird. Let's try this. Lost permission to, I can't do it. It's lost permission to, so I'm not going to try those. Pulling up some pictures. We always just found, for our market, the wrap trucks.
I wonder if it's because I stepped off.
I don't know. But let's see here. Share screen window, entire screen, share. Now I got to go select the lock in the bottom, but now I got to get out of this to go do it. So anyway, we won't worry about that. I'll have to restart Chrome. But, and again, everybody's market's different. We always found that the wrapped trucks were just amazing for us, but we would buy our trucks off of Gov Deals. And I know things have changed a lot in the last 3 years, but we would typically pay $3,000 to $5,000 for a work truck. And then we keep them for 2 to 3 years and then sell it for as much as we had bought it for, and it just worked out really, really well for us. But again, there were sometimes the wraps actually cost more than the truck itself.
Mm-hmm. So I want to answer this one real quick. Oh, go ahead. You go.
I'm trying to go ahead.
So Ray and Doug, do you see any new directions the industry is headed? Well, those of you that know, I think that the industry is headed towards drones. I believe that. Not for necessarily residential use, but I think for commercial use, you're going to see a lot more of that. I'm actually surprised. I've been learning that there's others, even in the local market here, that already own drones. And I didn't know that before. I'm seeing the advertisements starting to pop up, and I'm hearing a lot more. And I don't necessarily think it's just because I started working with Aqualine. Some of it, it's natural. You start seeing it. And I do think that is one of the directions that this industry is headed. The other direction that I think might eventually happen, but I still think we're a long ways off, and is going to be the alternative to bleach industry. I don't think that that's going to be anytime in the near future, though I think that there's enough people out there working on it that it will maybe eventually happen.
Well, I think, and Kim and Nick made an appearance on here. And I know that, it's actually a product that Wet and Forget was developed in New Zealand. And it's something they use a lot of in Australia, is the SWAM, which is, a very strong commercial grade quaternary ammonium product. Mm-hmm. And it takes multiple coats, and it will knock back the bleach, and you have to wait, 4 to 6 months to have that. But it does not have the, and I'm not going to argue about the danger of bleach, because I personally don't believe, bleach is dangerous. But if the market goes that way and it's what people want, I understand it.
So how do you mean that, though? As in bleach isn't dangerous? How do you mean that in this sense?
Well, see, I don't think it is.
So I see it in a couple different ways, right? It can be dangerous if it's not used correctly. I also see it as being, like if we're spraying with bleach daily and you're not wearing a respirator, I see
Yeah.
that as dangerous to yourself.
True,
You know,
true.
those kinds of things. So that, I just wanted to kind of clarify.
I mean, the changing of paints, the changing of organic pigments, the landscape mortality, and the
and most of that is
bleach is bad for metal. I mean, you know, the salt in bleach, not necessarily bleach, but the salts in bleach can be rough on some metals out there. And that's not to say that wet and forget can't be. I mean, because it is listed as corrosive on there. So, you know, what's good, what's bad, you know. PWP, look at all, but I agree with you, Doug. I think that's something that will be a change out there. And you know, I still remember there was a product, and it was a citrus-based product. And again, I'm not going to name. No, I'm not going to name the name of it. Doug,
I don't know why that popped out into my head when you said that. So
no idea, but I remember the guy trying to get me to be a distributor of it, and he said, well, you know, this is a great product. And I said, does it have the knockdown of bleach? No, but see, you'll get to wash this place, you know, every 6 months or so, because it's going to keep growing back, but it's a safe product. And I'm like, honestly, I have a hard time at my bids, you know, closing it at what I do once a year, once every 2 years for this.
You know,
every
6 months.
Going to them every 6 months and needing to wash it again on there. And the person that was saying this product is like, well, yeah, it's not going to have the knockdown that bleach is going to have.
Well, and then the other side of that is you could argue, well, yeah, but if you're going back every 6 months, it won't have to cost the homeowner as much. But so I could agree with that if it were on the roof, but not on the house. You still have your property protection. Even if you can say, I don't have to do the plant protection, I still have to do the property protection. I still got to, you know, protect the property from electrical issues, right? And we can get into that whole argument that you and I both agree is not an argument. You should be doing it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's
and you and I agree
where you really can't discount that price.
There's no national contract to where you can buy my contract that my lawyer has gone over and it protects you from any damage. Bullcrap. If anybody hears that, that is unadulterated bullcrap, because every state's property laws are different and the liability laws are different in every state. I am not an attorney, but I promise you an attorney would tell you this. There is no blanket pressure washing contract for the nation.
And there's no contract that's going to stop that can stop you just from somebody filing the suit against you, period. So
Anthony, one pros just asked this: do you have to have a pilot's license to fly a drone?
So you have to have a Part 107 license, and let me clarify that that's for any drone if you're flying it commercially. So even if you buy one of these little teeny tiny things and it's got a camera on it and you fly it up to take some pictures, right, and you're doing that for a commercial purpose, you're then supposed to have your Part 107 license. Okay, so it doesn't matter that it's, you know, the big pressure washing drone or the little teeny tiny drone. I think Ray's going to, I see the little look on his face like, oh, I thought you were bringing one into screen, but now
I don't know what's wrong with me now.
Yeah. Anyhow, so yes, you do have to have your Part 107 license to.
If you're technically doing flyovers on your job and using that for a commercial purpose, you need a drone license. But
not only that, but if you have 2 pilots on the job and you just simply hand the controller over to the other pilot, that's fine. You can do that, but you're liable for what that other pilot does, because when you first take off with it, you're supposed to enter in, you know, the pilot in command, and you know the only way to get the pilot of command out and put another pilot in is to land the drone, do the thing inside the controls to reset that to say this is now the pilot in command. Because as a pilot, you get your certain numbers assigned to you and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's there.
Saw a wash drone go past his house last week. Probably going to do a post-construction wash in a hotel. Yep. Gene, 100%, buddy.
I think I know which one that was. I mean, well, depending on area, I think.
It's not the gun; it's the user.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I mean. We've been saying that for years. It's not, you can't blame the bleach for things that are going wrong. Most of the time, it is on you. It's the person that's applying that bleach. You're doing it. I just had the discussion, not really discussion, but with somebody today about 100%, spraying something with 100% bleach. There's just really not a need for 100% bleach. There's just not. Sorry. So that's the case. If you're
50% bleach unless you're doing tile roofs.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
And that's the thing that a lot of people I just don't think understand. And it's about, but if I spray it, it's going to get done so much quicker this way, which isn't necessarily the truth either.
No, that's not. That's not. Let's see here. Paid off my $10,000 truck with a 1500 wrap for 3.5 years ago. Sold a Southeast SESW mini skid and built my own for $4,000. I have an $18,000 trailer I'm paying off. Thinking of selling my mini skid and truck. Focused on paying off my trailer. When you guys sell a work truck, would you take the wrap off? 100%. Oh yeah. Oh no. My wrap would always.
There's no question about that. Unless I'm selling my company, that wrap is coming off. There's no question. There's no ifs. There's no ors. There's no ands. There's no buts. I'll put it to this way. We had a flood come through and flooded out our trucks, and same thing. We're taking the wrap off of that truck. There was one of the 3 trucks got out of here and it still had the logo on it. And I wish it hadn't, but let's take that one step further. Do you remember seeing that? I think it was a Toyota pickup truck, and it was, I'm going to make up the name, but it was like Jim's plumbing service. And it had Jim's phone number on it, and Jim's plumbing service, Austin, Texas, 225, whatever, had his number on it, right? And where did that truck end up at? It ends up at the auction yard, right? From the storage auction, or not the storage auction, from the crash auction, okay, Copart. And then it's bought by some, what's the right way to say that? People in whatever country that was that we were, Afghanistan, and fighting us. And so they have this truck, and they've mounted a machine gun to this truck, and they show it on the news. And it's this guy's truck, with his logo and his this. I think there was even a lawsuit over that. So, yeah, I'm absolutely, because I have no idea what's going to happen with that truck, whether I sell it. And not only that, but I don't want the guy to pull out of my parking lot and he doesn't remove the wrap, and he drives around. He's driving like an idiot. And I just put in a bid for $100,000 to do some building, and this guy happens to cut off the wife of the no way, I'm taking that wrap off, definitely.
I mean, when we had that accident in our truck, I actually went to the junkyard and pulled the majority of the wrap off of the truck, at least all the identifying things that had the company name on there while it was in the junkyard, because I didn't want an optic of somebody taking a picture of a wrecked, spray wash truck out there.
That even goes so far as, I've heard some guys, well, we just paint over it, whatever. But
man,
that's at least better. But nonetheless, even doing that with the way the wraps are, you can generally just wash the paint right off of them. So I definitely recommend,
Do you need larger drones to fly loaded to heights? Like, Doug, I'm going to let you, this is all up in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. See how you are. So I just answered this question today with a potential client, where the concern is how high can the drone actually go, right? Well, the standard, quote unquote, is between 10 and 11 stories. But that's not even true, because there are so many different ways to take it higher than 10 stories that it's not even funny. I mean, and it's not even going to be all that difficult to do to get it that much higher. So there are just ways of understanding and using things correctly. I think I was hearing today that the only requirement by the FAA is that when it takes off, okay, that's where everything is defined at to begin with. When it takes off, it can't have any more than like 55 pounds. Okay, so once it starts going up, then it contains that load, but you can get up there quite high if you know how to make that happen. They did a 70-story window cleaning.
That was one of the things that we did with SH Destroys Lungs. Part of when we were researching plant and property protection and learning about bleach, you and I both intensively did that. But bleach attacks biological material. It's one of the things we talk about in the class, and bleach will attack mucous membranes. It's one of the reasons that if you're ever in a pool screen, an enclosed area, man, it's going to kick your butt whenever you walk out of that pool screen. I mean, you're just coughing and gagging and hacking, and it's the bleach, guys. It's the bleach attacking your mucous membranes.
Well, here's my thing on that too. Think about it when you go home and your wife says, or your spouse, or your kids,
oh God, you smell like bleach.
You just smell like bleach. You go to the gas station or the grocery store, man, you smell like bleach, and you're sitting there thinking, I don't smell it.
Anything? No.
Why don't you smell it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so what's your thoughts on green ox? I actually have some green ox on the floor right now, and I keep it there, and I sell it every now and then. I think it works. I also had one of my customers, and he went and did a test area. He loved it. He paid, bought 10 gallons of it, and yeah, it was quite expensive. He wound up having to restain a lady's wooden porch ceiling, one of our customers here. And I felt horrible because I was like, yes. But he said, and it was a poor, and he said, I had a bad feeling about this job. And I even tested it out. The one area that I tested, it didn't cause a problem with, but it was a typical stained porch ceiling, wooden stained porch ceiling. And the pigment was there, but the protection was gone. The urethane or the linseed oil or whatever was offering the protection on top of the stain was gone, Doug. And so
that's really the problem too with a lot of the tests that we do, right? Because we talk about, do a test spot. But a test spot is only going to tell you about that one spot. Things can be different on other sides, and depending on where you're at. And
how many times wooden doors? Great example. Wooden door. You can sit there and spray a wooden door down, and the top half of the door is great, but the bottom half of the door, where the sun is coming in under the porch, and you're getting that west or that afternoon sun or that morning sun. And it's just hammering away that urethane. It's hammering away that protection. And you spray the door down, and from waist level, it looks great. And then from waist level below, it's raw wood. Mm-hmm. There's no pigment left on there.
Yeah, and that's a prime example.
Yeah. But I mean, but put it like this, PWP. If you're looking for a no bleach alternative to clean paint, vinyl, hardy board, anything other than raw wood, it's a very effective no bleach alternative. I've also had guys tell me that they did not get the results on heavily stained tile roofs that they wanted out of it, though. Mm-hmm. But as far as just, I want to clean something, I want to clean mildew off a house, and yes, you can. I've also had people tell me, hey, it worked great on going
back to the whole, respirator and bleach harming lungs and mucous membranes and all that kind of stuff. You really do have to remember that tomorrow is never promised, right? Mm-hmm. So, that's one of the things that I've heard, about, well, yeah, I don't wear my respirator because, I ain't going to be around that long anyhow. Well, and tomorrow is never promised. But when tomorrow does come and you haven't been protecting yourself, or you haven't been paying yourself first and protecting your financial future, and tomorrow comes around, next thing you know, man, it's gonna be a crappy last few years of your life.
What if tomorrow's not promised, but what if tomorrow does come, mm-hmm. and you can't walk up a freaking flight of stairs because of emphysema? What if you can't lift your grandkid up because you lose your breath? You're right. Tomorrow is not promised, but damn it, you bet you damn. I mean,
but you should plan for it.
Yeah,
you should plan for it to be there.
Yeah.
You know? How many times do you look around and you see an elderly person that can't walk, can't talk, can't whatever, you know, all these different things. And a lot of times it's guys, right? Because we abuse ourselves, you know, it's part of our DNA makeup and all that kind of fun stuff. But we abuse ourselves during our younger years. And when we get older, now we're paying for it, you know?
No, dude, I mean, I'm a poster child for it right now. I mean, I feel like I can barely move around, you know, some days and get up, and my back, you know, I know I'm carrying an extra 20 or 30 pounds around, but you know, my back, I destroyed my body at spray wash. I mean, I know. Yeah, no.
I just had an epiphany.
Sure of yourself, guys. You know, I want to go back here because one of the things, you know, I had written down, I'm sitting here looking at my notes, and we're getting kind of deep into the hour here. But you know, as many of y'all know, you know, Tanya and I own a few, I mean, we own Power Wash store, you know, here in Florida. We've sold Spray Wash. We've sold other businesses, Spray Wash Hood Cleaning. I mean, we've, you know, we've been in business a while. Over the years, we've bought and sold many, many, many businesses. But guys, going back to what we were talking about early on in here about, you know, pay yourself first, the profit first. Let me put it like this with this. So many of us started out with a Lowe's Home Depot pressure washer.
Yep.
I know that now there's a whole new breed of pressure washers that are starting out with an Amazon pressure washer because they've seen some guys on YouTube going, you can make $300 an hour on here. Well, guys, I went probably 3 years ago. I was walking through Walmart, and they had that place that does the vintage snow cones, right? The vintage snow cone machines, like $19.95. And I was like, oh my God, Finn's going to have so much fun with this. And it came with 2 flavors, blue raspberry and strawberry. And I bought it for $19. It was a snow cone machine. Now, our new business that Tanya and I have, we have a Tiki Shaved Ice franchise. That franchise and truck was, let's just say it wasn't $19.95. I mean, we're multiple six figures.
A little more than that.
The equipment on here, you know, for the Wrights Tower area and the very large, you know, vehicle that's self-contained. The equipment is the equipment, you know, and I get a nice, fluffy, beautiful shaved ice snow out of the Tiki's truck. I get chunky ice out of the other one. But it doesn't matter which one I started off with. It doesn't matter if I sat up at the flea market with my Walmart 1999 ice crusher and said, here, you know, that's $5. Or if I pull up with Caribbean music and a company shirt and, you know, 10 self-serve flavors and ice cream in my Tiki's truck, if I don't know something about business, either one of those scenarios could be a money-losing scenario for me, no matter how much I charge for that Hawaiian shaved ice or snow cone that I'm selling. And yes, there is a difference. Can't really use the term interchangeably. Tanya gets all over my butt about that. But that's kind of the basis. And I think this is one of the biggest problems that I see right now on the internet, that I see, you know, on the YouTube. You can make $300 an hour. Because guys, I hear this. I hear it at least once a week where the guy comes in dragging a Simpson pressure washer with a AAA pump on there and going, man, I heard you were pretty smart and you used to own a company. I heard that I could make $300 an hour on this, and I just haven't been able to. And I'm like, well, guys, I don't know what to tell you. Did any of those people past doing Facebook ads and doing yard signs have any of those guys actually told you what to do, to do business? Or did you ever check that any of those guys that are telling you to buy this and they're getting $50 on their Amazon referral link, have they ever actually run successful long-term companies? Oh, well, I don't know, but man, their video looked really, really, really good. Again, guys,
spend money making a video.
Yeah, it has to go all back to the foundations of business. And if you don't understand your business, if you don't know your numbers, you're not going to be able to pay profit first, and you're not going to have a long-term successful business out there.
And it's why so many businesses fail, period.
What's Dave?
One from Dave, yeah. Dave Jensen says, let's talk about the work-life balance. How do you find ways to structure your day where everyone is happy? I find myself getting into the hustle too hard. Money is great, but I realize I've got 4 summers left with my older daughter. Dave, you're probably not going to like my answers, to be honest with you, because it's going to be honest with you, right? In the first place, you got to start, in my opinion, is to be honest with yourself. And something that we said earlier today, tomorrow is never promised, right? So one of the ways that I got past it, because I think all of us pretty much, I mean, are going to be in the same boat, right? Where we spend so much time working and we're building our businesses and we're doing this and we're doing that. And, you turn around and you look back and you realize I didn't spend any time with my kids and they're now 18, 19 years old. They're moving out of the house, right? Mm-hmm. One of the ways that I stopped that, and I hate to admit that I didn't stop it soon enough, was by realizing that, okay, when I get home and I have to pick a time, and that time is typically about 6:30 in the evening, everything is off. It was very hard. It took me probably 6 months, I'm going to say, to get into the mindset of actually shutting down. And it got to the point where I quit doing stuff after about 6:30, and stuff I really needed to get done. But then I came to realize that it did wait until tomorrow. It did wait. I feel like it can't, but your kids and your life and all those other things are so important that you don't want to forget about them. And this is where I'm going to say, pay yourself first again, right? Pay yourself with the surrounding of the love of your family and making sure that they know they're appreciated. Today, I guess, was National Daughters Day or something to that nature. And I heard about it through Facebook, and I texted my daughter and I said to her, I hear that today is, National Daughters Day or whatever it is. And, sorry, I didn't know that. But at the same time, I don't care, because I treat my daughter like she's special every single time. I don't have to worry about one special day of the year. I don't have to.
Well, so, one of the things that we would do, Tanya and I would do, and because we got so incredibly busy, we would make sure that we scheduled time away with ourselves, because let's face it, when we would try to take nice vacations with the girls, and then we would try to get out of town about once every 2 months, where we shut it down. We go away for 3 days. And it was more time. I'm not going to take credit for this, because that was Tanya going, "Hey, let's go do this. We know we need to do the," and I wouldn't with on it, but she was the driving onus behind that. But we would try to get over to St. Augustine, or we would try to get up to the mountains, or over to Biloxi, or do a little something every couple of months, so we could get away and go have a little bit of couple time away from spray wash and away from the headache. We were always boat people. So, we bought the boat and, tried to get out in the boat once a week and kick out on and enjoy that a little bit, and the Sunday family dinner. I mean, people always follow us for the on our Facebook, where Tanya talks about cooking the Sunday family dinner. That's been something that's been so important to her for years and years and years.
I can't tell you how impressed I am over that.
Yeah. And we didn't put the post last night because tomorrow is her birthday. And, we actually took her out to dinner because, it's a work night tomorrow and we had the kids. We were actually able to spend some time, and take her out. We did Sunday family dinner at a restaurant down at the coast last night for Tanya's birthday. But our Sunday family, our Sundays are very sacred to us and sacred to God too. And, always try to get together. I mean, there's got to be a pretty darn good excuse for us to not have Sunday family dinner,
I can tell you, I see those posts all the time, and to me, I mean, my kids are grown. Your kids are grown. Our kids don't live well. My son lives very close to us, but he works every Sunday evening, and because that's something I sat there and I said, man, I'd love to institute that. Because that's such an awesome thing, and I cannot. I don't know. I mean, I know I've shared with you guys how awesome that is and how much I respect that you guys do that. And that is an immensely awesome thing.
Hey, I may have been coming in at spray wash. I mean, and thank God Tanya, Tanya had her weekend. I mean, I might have been coming in from spray wash covered in crap and literally wiping off at, or even dinner was held up for me to go get a shower because I stunk and was covered in crap. But, at the same time, I tried to make sure I was home for it. So that's part of having, an amazing wife.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Change company for S Corp LLC, pay myself gross pay and payroll, just like an employee. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
I was on payroll with my company. As a matter of fact, we used an outside provider. Yeah. So
you drew a salary.
We're taken out and everything. Yeah.
And then took owner disbursements. One of the things that I made a comment on when we sold our business, we took, we had a 401k for our employees, you were instantly vested on there. And if you wanted to do employee matching, we would match. And Tanya and I took advantage of it ourselves. And when we wound up selling between our two accounts, there was $100,000 in there that, cool. I mean, it's worth probably $10,000 now because of Bidenomics, but still cool. At that point, whenever we sold, it was like, we never missed that money. And it was $100,000 sitting there in a retirement account.
That's a key point too, though. One of the things that I did with my income, right? So I was paid, I paid myself 40 hours a week, $25 an hour every single week. That's all I made, right? And then I had extra taken out every single week, right? So at first I started off and I had taxes that were being taken out. Plus I had an extra $300 a week coming out, right? Mm-hmm. So that helps with the extra taxes at the end of the year. And I never saw that money. Yeah. And then in the end, I had $600 a week being taken out. So when you take and you're paying yourself $1,000 a week, right? And then you're having $600 taken out after all the other stuff is already taken out. You're taking home about $150 a week.
And also, let me put this disclaimer in here, guys. Talk to your tax professionals and your legal professionals and your investment professionals. Please don't take business, financial, accounting advice from unemployed guys.
I'm employed.
Oh, that's right. You're employed. I guess I am too.
Kinda. Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. It's not by 4:30. It can wait. I don't work weekends either. Those are rules. You started your business 25 years ago. Hey, you know what? In PWP, gotcha, bud. I mean, I don't disagree. That's your boundaries. And, that's how you want to do it. Major reason starting a business was to not miss family. 100%. Yeah. We were a little different than that. I understand, but I respect it and got it.
We were different than that as well because I made so much money on the weekends,
I know lots of very successful. We always did a lot of commercial, and our weekends were the time to do that. But I know plenty of pressure washing companies that do it just like you do, and they don't work nights. They work during the days, and they, hey,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey, you know what? If you guys all write me in on the presidential ballot and I win, I will make that happen.
And that's one of the things that I truly love about this business and I love about this podcast. And we get to talk to different people that do things different ways. There's no, book, right here, that's the definitive. Here's what you have to do to be successful in this business. I mean, there's so many different ideas and different ways. And as long as, you don't go broke and your employees are safe and your customers are safe and all that, you're doing it okay, and you're making some money to live the lifestyle you want to do. There's not something that says you have to charge X dollars an hour.
Exactly.
You have to use X equipment. You have to do this and you have to do that. I mean, the guy that taught me how to wash, dear friend of mine, I've known him for a minute. We went to high school together, still a customer. I mean, he was a guy that we would send referrals back and forth. He's literally the guy that helped me get into washing. He still to this day uses, now he bought a Comet 5 gallon a minute pump for me to put onto one of his Honda GX390s. He's, been washing longer than anybody else in Tallahassee, probably 20 years and still going strong. He does not have a skid type unit mounted. He uses pull around DeWalt style pressure washers and Gould's booster pumps. It's how he does it, Now again, one of his pull around 390s has a 5 gallon a minute at 3,000 PSI, but he doesn't believe in skids. He doesn't have hose reels for his pressure washing hose. He does relatively very little pressure washing. Mm-hmm. There's not and he probably makes more than most guys watching. I mean, he does good. He's got 2 rigs doing that. He's done well.
Michael J., congratulations, man. 30 years for A Brothers A Brothers pressure cleaning. I almost said roof and pressure cleaning. So
that's nice,
that's awesome.
Michael. Mm-hmm. Oh man, Doug, we have reach out to your local store program. Yep.
That's a volunteer thing, I believe, too.
And if you have a business incubator worked by your local college or something, that's a great place to be. Something, a great thing to look at. One of the business incubators, it talks about some of the business theories and it's the devil's in the details with this, Doug. It's the taxes. It's the It is,
and that's where talking to your financial advisor, your tax advisor, is going to help you get past a lot of that instead of what
insurance. It's the 1099 employees. It's do you have commercial vehicle insurance? Are you covered? Are you over covered? All of that. All of that. Guys. We're about 10 minutes over, 8 minutes over. Thank y'all all again. Great talk. And Scott, watch the replay on there, buddy. All the good places. And Doug, we got to get back on the whole putting, now that we have our internet stuff figured out. I think we've got a bunch of these loaded on to the podcast.
Yeah, finally got the site fixed.
Yeah,
and all that, so.
Sorry. Thank y'all for suffering with us on that. We need to get the podcast up so you can have us in your ear, during the, I want to go with this for a second, what he said, but you can listen to our podcast and the rebroadcasts of these. We've saved these for years and now finally have a way to put them out. First person I ever hired was a CPA. So my CPA, we changed CPAs, and this is probably about 7 years ago. I'm sitting at I have a hunt club meeting, and I'm sitting across, from a guy and start talking to him. And he's one of the, like 15 guys in our hunt club. And we had 3,000 acres, and we start BSing, and he said, I'm a CPA. It turns out he's a CPA partner with another CPA that I've known for years and respected. He wasn't my CPA. And I said, oh my gosh, I said, we're talking. Gosh, we're going to talk tomorrow. And so, hooked him up with Tanya. He passed the Tanya test. And he was amazing because he gave us little things like your hunt club. You need to take some customers or employees out to the hunt club every now and then. And we can write these dues off. You buy a weapon at the hunt club. We can do this because you're using this to entertain. you know, a good CPA. I remember one year
Worth your weight.
One year he called me and he says, well, Ray, I got good news and bad news. And I said, okay, bad news. He said, you're about to spend $35,000. I said, okay, what's the good news is? He said, good news is you've got a choice. You can either give it to the government. He said, or you can buy something that you want that's going to be a good write-off this year. I said, okay. And, you know, and he called me at the right time too. He called me in December, not January 2nd, and said, oh, crap. We wound up buying, you know, a Kubota tractor on there because we'd much rather have a Kubota tractor than you know, the door of a B-1 bomber that I really don't.
Come on, it's the bolt that holds the door on. The bolt is $35,000, not the door.
Yeah. 100%, you know.
I think it's actually just the nut that holds the bolt, or maybe the washer.
Thank you for your friendship and watching us. We love you too, Michael. Thank you, buddy, and I agree.
Yeah.
All right, Doug.
Appreciate y'all.
Y'all have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.